Hello, I'm Dr. Ann Conn, and welcome to the Conn Job podcast. I'm glad you're here today. We have Dr. Ashley Weiss with us today, a child and adolescent psychiatrist and the program director for the Child Psychiatry program at Tulane Medical School. I'm starting close to my home and my heart in New Orleans with the first episode. Dr. Weiss is the founder of EPIC New Orleans, an early intervention program for psychosis, and CALM New Orleans, a mental health advocacy group. She proves that one person can bring great good and change the course of lives for the better. After hearing an early psychosis intervention podcast at Yale, she cold called the director who mentored her and later became a friend. Dr. Weiss will share her path to her specialty, what led her to found EPIC New Orleans and CALM New Orleans, and her experiences. She'll also discuss the importance of early intervention in psychosis and the profound challenges faced by individuals and families dealing with these conditions and the profound need for community mental health care. This episode is close to home not only geographically but emotionally because my sons, Austin and Colin, suffered from psychosis and the lack of effective treatments. This episode promises to be both informative and insightful, shedding light on the critical work being done to support individuals with psychosis and their families. Stay tuned. Hi, I'm Dr. Ann Conn, and I'm here today with Dr. Ashley Weiss. She is a child and adolescent psychiatrist. She is the program director for the Child Psychiatry program, and she's in charge of medical student education at Tulane for Psychiatry. What we're going to be talking about today is her program that she founded, EPIC New Orleans. It's early intervention for psychosis, and she's also founded CALM New Orleans, which is a mental health advocacy group. So, Dr. Weiss, thank you so much for coming. I appreciate you being here.
I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. So, can you please tell us about how you chose your field of child and adolescent psychiatry?
So I was, always fascinated by psychiatry in general, like even in middle school and high school, because I thought that just because people liked to talk to me, that somehow I would be good in that profession. I don't know if that's quite true, but it just seemed intriguing. And then somewhere along the way when I was pre-med, one of my advisors made me think away from psychiatry because I was a woman and it would be scary. And so that stuck with me in college, that I was told that. So I kind of pivoted to thinking about physical medicine and rehab. And this was on my journey to go into medicine. And I bring that up now because I reflect back on why I'm kind of into this anti-stigma thing. And that was really a part of why I maybe was thinking, or I was thinking about not being a psychiatrist was because of stigma. So long story short, my third clerkship in medical school was psychiatry, and I wanted to, that it was just totally changed. I changed my mind and I went into psychiatry and came back to Tulane for residency right after Katrina. And, in terms of child, I never thought that I would be a psychiatrist to only take care of little kids. But I thought it was really important to have training about development and about kids and about people, because it informs how you are as a psychiatrist, and it better informs you, I think, in terms of thinking about people in general. So the transitional age group is an area I was really interested in, young teenagers and young adults. But yeah, that's how I landed in child adolescent training. And I liked training with little kids and I liked taking care of little kids, but definitely the high schoolers, young adults has been my area of interest.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us. And I just want to commend you because the need is so profound. There's so few practitioners. It's a crisis, as you're aware of. And so thank you for doing it and helping influence medical students because it'll be inside them somehow in whatever field they go into, be it psychiatry or not.
Right.
So I'd like to hear about how your interest in early intervention in psychosis came about. But could you first start with just a short introduction about what is psychosis?
Yeah. So psychosis is a symptom. It's not a diagnosis, but it's a symptom that can be experienced differently by many people. But I think what it has in common is that there's a question about what's in my imagination versus what's in my reality, or what's in our sort of shared reality, or a misperception of things in the environment, or a mishearing of sensory stimulus, like things that we hear, misseeing. And then, psychosis can also show up as trouble with organizing thoughts, trouble with organization of behavior, where there's kind of a disconnect maybe between what I'm intending to do and what my body does, or what I'm intending to say, what I actually speak. So there can be many different experiences of psychosis. Misreading the environment, I think, is a really common one. And then, whenever we're having perceptions of what's going on around us, we then, sort of create a narrative of why that's happening. And when we think about what we would call a delusion, of having a belief that you might be the only one to have that belief, that those, it seems simple to say, like, oh, a delusion is a fixed false belief, like what we learn in medical school, which is so much more complicated than that, because one doesn't wake up delusional, right? Like, it takes a long time to form an idea, or to have an idea that becomes a belief. So psychosis can be that process of having these unusual thoughts, new ideas, and that sort of building and it becoming a delusion. Often when people think about psychosis, they think of delusions, which is why I wanted to talk about that. Hallucinations, the misperceiving of sensory stimulus. So those are the main ones. And I think in medicine, we go through so many experiences with patients, and in medical school, I just thought that not being able to trust your mind and not being able to trust how you interact with your world would be the scariest thing as a human. And that's kind of what sparked my interest in wanting to kind of devote my career, devote my life to helping those individuals. And it's often something that's unseen from the outside. And that's kind of why I became really interested in psychosis and in the first place.
Yes, well, thank you. That's a beautiful explanation. As a neurologist, I've learned how to identify psychosis, and actually, back when I trained, we would work up that first psychotic episode because sometimes there can be medical illnesses. But my interest is, in this field is not just academic. Both of my sons had psychotic illnesses, and actually they both died as a result of their illnesses. So I have deep personal experience, and I agree with you. I think the suffering is so terribly intense and hidden and stigmatized, and so I think it's very important to talk about it. And many people have trouble talking about it, understandably.
Right.
But those of us that can, I believe, have a deep obligation to do so, and that's what I'm trying to do with you here today. So thank you. So I would like to hear more about how you formed Epic New Orleans. Like, what sparked that, and please tell me about the formation and how do you identify patients. I'd love to hear about it.
So Gosh, you talked about being the firstborn and being the organizer.
Yes.
I'm the firstborn organized chaos, like kind of a combination.
Yeah.
So I went through medical school, went through residency, and like was definitely had an interest in schizophrenia and early intervention. And well, I didn't really know that there was such thing as early intervention because they, while I was in training, was when the first randomized control trial was being organized in the United States. It had been happening, like early psychosis intervention had been happening in other countries, but it took a long time for it to get here. I'll just say that. Yeah. But I remember being on the inpatient unit as an intern, and we had an 18-year-old from one of the colleges here, and very different than working in medicine in the intensive care unit, which I think is like the equivalent in psychiatry of an inpatient unit. Right. And anytime there was a big diagnosis or a big change, you take the family and meet with them in a room and be like, I need to help you understand that XYZ is happening with your family member and what this might mean for them long term, and like the care plan. And we had this 18-year-old that was psychotic for the first time. And I was like, oh, well, maybe it was the weed, or maybe it was stress. Maybe it's finals. Unspecified psychosis, discharge. And I was like, this is so weird. This person has schizophrenia. Like, why didn't we, like, we need to have a conversation. We need to talk to the family. Like, we want this kid to go back to school, like, without an understanding of why this happened. Like, it's traumatizing. It was such this different approach, which made zero sense because of the place that this person is in their life, like trying to become independent, going to college, doing the thing that you're supposed to be doing, and now ends up in psychiatric ward with no explanation, no real understanding of like what's going on, no discussion with the family about helping support that person, and then expectations, and then what supports they might need in school. So it was just strange. And then I kind of went down a rabbit hole, like on PubMed, about like, well, what do you do when it's an 18-year-old diagnosed with schizophrenia? Because our training's kind of like all ages and usually on an inpatient unit. And kind of I stumbled upon the early intervention literature. And then I had a patient when I was a fellow who was in the emergency room, new onset psychosis, was in the ER, waited, a week for a bed. That never happened, but we had, he had gotten stable enough to be discharged. I was a resident, had a flexible clinic. So I was like, I'll see you tomorrow in my clinic. Yeah. And I started seeing him weekly. Like I was doing therapy with him. I was doing his meds. I was helping his family understand what was going on. Then I had to communicate with his friends in Washington State when he decided to up and leave. And then I kind of went further down the, what am I doing? Because this feels really weird or not weird. It feels different than kind of the usual treatment. And that was when the RAISE trial was happening in the United States, and I stumbled upon the STEP clinic at Yale, like an early psychosis intervention program. I was like, that's what I'm doing. It's like, this is kind of what I'm doing. Yeah. And I cold called the director, Vinod Srihari, who's like a current mentor, and we Skyped. Yeah. No one Skypes anymore, but he was, I was like, I want to learn as much as I can about this approach, and how can I do this? And so I decided to stay on as faculty and started talking to people in the community, of the other agencies. I was like, so I kind of want to do this, start a program. And Dr. Srihari was like, you just provide really, really good care. Because I was like, who do I need? I need a social worker, I need a therapist, I need all these people. And he was like, just start small, start seeing people. And And so I borrowed time from a social work, like there was a community mental health agency. They needed a child psychiatrist. So I said, I'll give you a day, a week, and I need to borrow 2 hours of a therapist and 2 hours of a family therapist time so we could meet together to try to recruit patients for our first episode psychosis program. So we started with like 5 hours, I think, between the three of us a week.
Wow.
And that was 10 years ago. So,
Wow.
and now.
Wow, I love the way you laid that out. And what you laid out mirrors my own experience because, you know, psychosis, the multiple reasons it can occur, it's driven by brain illness, right? And I mean, and psychiatry, you know, you're treating brain illness, and psychiatry and neurology are under the same board for a reason, right? And so I just honor what you're saying because when somebody has a stroke in the ICU, we take the family, we talk to them. And, you know, the psychiatric patients deserve the same care because this is shocking for people. And it's the intervention is equivalent to an ICU intervention when somebody goes in like that, and it needs to be treated as such. And I commend you for supporting that. And,
well, I think it's stigma. It's like our own internal stigma, even as physicians or as mental health professionals, that keeps that from happening. Like you don't want to have that conversation with someone.
Right. Having hard conversations is hard.
Right.
It is hard to have these difficult conversations. And I mean, you know, we practice, hopefully we gain more skills as we do this more often, but they're still difficult. I mean, even now when I give difficult news, you know, I take some deep breaths. And so, we want to avoid, you know, we're just human, right? And then the stigma. There's so many rich reasons, right, that this happens. So I'd like to hear how you recruit patients and how you're trying to change the outcomes and trajectories for these people.
So I guess like what happens in the clinic is medication management, individual therapy, family support, group therapy, peer support, all kinds of sort of comprehensive care. It's not rocket science. So like the goal is to talk about it like you would talk about being anxious or being sad or being depressed, is like kind of owning the word. And so all aspects of care are very psychosis forward.
So what are the major underlying illnesses that you're treating where the symptom is psychosis?
Right.
Which illnesses are those?
Most of, I would say, I don't have the percentages, but most are schizophrenia spectrum. So schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, bipolar disorder. We have some major depressive disorder with psychotic features. Honestly, most of those that we get in their first episode go on to be bipolar 1 disorder. We just have them during their, you know, first mood episode with psychosis, which is often depression. We have some psychosis due to general medical condition. Some schizophreniform, which is good diagnostically because it's super early in illness. But that's the majority. And we also see the clinical high risk for psychosis state.
How do you find those people? That fascinates me because that's amazing that you can find them. I'd love to hear how.
So when we first started, you know, I have colleagues that work on inpatient units. So when we first started, about 99% of our patient referrals came from inpatient units. Because as soon as I said to my friends, hey, if you have like 18 to 25-year-olds that are having their first psychotic episode, then we're starting this program for them. It was like, their patients were referred. So we never had a problem with getting patients. However, getting patients before they go to the hospital is really like the ultimate goal. So like I said, most people came from inpatient. And as we've done more community outreach, and as we've launched Calm, we've slowly seen our referral source move away from inpatient and more to community mental health providers and a family referrals and self-referrals. So our ultimate goal is that most of our patients are self-referred, which would mean that it's very early. And because all of my patients have that year, you know, on average, people have psychosis for a year and a half in the United States before they ever get care, which is pathetic, right?
It is pathetic. And the brain, of course, I worry about their brains.
Well, because the longer someone has psychosis, the more difficult it is to treat. And we see that in clinic all the time. And so having someone have like a safe place to talk about unusual experiences and to actually reach out and say, like, I think I am hearing things that no one else seems to be hearing, or you know, that's the goal. Because there's sort of this like notion that people with schizophrenia always have to go to the hospital, and that's so false. That's just based on historically bad care. And I mean, not to be too judgmental, but like that revolving door of the like young person in and out of the hospital until they're so ill that, you know, they burned all their bridges with family members. They're out of school. They have not worked in years and years. And it's just like, it's hard to get well. So we are very intentional about trying to streamline the pathway from I'm having this unusual experience to getting to the right people to talk about it. Because it might not be schizophrenia. I mean, it's often not. But we want to be the people that someone talks to have that conversation and figure it out.
So do you change the trajectory of the people and that are becoming psychotic and having early psychosis? And I think you do. And I would like to know how you're measuring that.
Yeah.
So can you please talk about that?
Yeah. So there's a 20 to 30 years of data outside of the United States that early intervention programs, people are having better outcomes at 2, 3, even 5 years. And the early intervention for psychosis is really meant to try to change the trajectories of these serious mental illnesses that have a very unhealthy trajectory. You know, on average, 30 years of life lost compared to the general population, and that's not just due to suicide. That's just other medical conditions.
Well, because it affects the entire body.
Their entire body.
Okay, every cellular mechanism in the body is affected. I mean, we don't, that's for another episode. Yes, people think it's just a brain illness. It's a whole body illness.
It's a whole body illness.
Actually, the death is cardiovascular. Exactly. Right, which is so fascinating that we need to understand more deeply, but inroads are being made, yes.
And so the issue, though, now that's happening is that these programs are short term. You know, they're for 2 to 3 years, and then they graduate you. And now the data looking at outcomes once you're graduated from an early intervention service, people are starting to lose their gains pretty regularly, which is, I have a kind of soapbox about continuity of care and therapeutic alliance.
I have a soapbox too. Maybe we can do as much of it.
I mean, that like alliance with your patients and knowing them when they're super sick and knowing them when they're super well and everything in between. Reestablishing that with another provider is hard. And they don't like it either. Like even when we have residents rotating in and out the clinic, they're like, after a year, we just started like getting to know each other. So it's hard to change. So our clinic has never had a discharge date.
I love
just because we want to be their like medical home, you know, their mental health home. And so now that the field is studying what happens after an early intervention program and it's not looking good, we're studying our longitudinal outcomes of our patients that have been with us 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years.
7 years, is that your longest?
My longest is 10.
Awesome.
And he's teaching English in Thailand right now, but we still haven't like discharged him because he comes back and forth sometimes. But my longest is
10. So, but this begs the question for me, our country, we have the need for community mental health care that is not being met.
Right.
And so it sounds to me like you're kind of surrogate community mental health care. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we're definitely community mental health care. I mean, even though I'm faculty at Tulane, Tulane's very community mental health care. I mean, we are historically have been at every state mental health, mental hospital, psychiatric hospital, and worked in all the community clinics. And so I don't really see a separation. Yes, we have some research projects, but they're very translational, and they're very real world type of settings. And that's, my mentor, that's kind of his approach in research too, of wanting to do more real world types of research where you have someone that has comorbid diagnoses while you have people that are from all walks of life that have dealt with various an array of traumatic experiences and everything else. It's hard to I just have no interest in siloing some perfect representation of a patient to study. I'm not interested.
It's not even possible. That's
no, and
not
it's not
real.
It's
That brings me. That's just not possible, right?
Little delusional,
all humans interact with the world.
Right.
We're in dialogue with our entire life experience. And okay, that brings me to ask about your role as principal investigator for the National Institute of Mental Health Study on Psychosis.
Yeah.
Could you please tell us a little more about that?
Yeah. So there's luckily been a big interest in the United States and attention to the potential of changing the trajectory of serious mental illnesses. These are the most costly illnesses on the planet, not only to individuals, but to health systems and communities and
society to families,
all the things.
All of it, right.
So there was a congressional mandate that every state put a certain amount of their mental health block grant funding towards early psychosis intervention. So our clinic gets part of that funding that's dedicated to this area, and all states have funding dedicated to this area. So after that had been going on for some time, NIMH launched a program called EpiNet, which is Early Psychosis Intervention Network. We're all about acronyms within the early psychosis world. It's kind of annoying, but
hey, a good acronym says a lot. We like.
It's just
medicine in general. We love our acronyms.
So many. So EpiNet is there's multiple networks that have 6 to 8 early psychosis programs, and all of them are collecting data. That is then being funneled into a centralized database. And the goal is to sort of understand what all of these programs are doing and come up with some collective benchmarks and sort of better understanding how we're actually practicing early intervention in the country, because a lot of clinics are not based at all in academic centers, and they're very community oriented. And what that really means in our program, to be community oriented, is there's not a whole lot of data collection. So we're trying to get establish our culture within the clinic to be more aware of the need for some data collection that we can then understand how we're doing in comparison to other first episode psychosis clinics.
So give me an example of what you mean by data collection. What points, what do you collect?
So there's baseline assessments that look at functioning, that look at symptoms, that look at educational level, really
holding a job, being hospitalized,
all those things, and then at 6-month intervals, sort of collecting similar outcomes.
So it's prospective. You're tracking now, which is great.
Right.
I would think you're the pioneer of this group in America. You're pioneering
I'm
this?
part of
your
a
group is pioneering it because in Europe, this data has been available.
So, and so EpiNet is, the first round is over. The second round is under review.
What does that
right
mean?
now.
Under review. Are your funds okay? Are your funds solid?
We're not like quite sure yet. So everything's sort of on pause
Okay.
at NIMH of whether or not they're going to renew the second round of EpiNet.
Okay. Well, of course, I'm a big advocate and hope that you're renewed for the well-being of the humans that we all love and want to take care of and see improve. Yeah.
You know, and I mean, from a funding standpoint, we bill and collect. We take every insurance because of the grant or the money that we do have that's set aside for states to use for care. That money will cover people that are uninsured, and we try to get them insured as soon as possible. But I, wanted to have from the very beginning, like multiple funding streams and not be completely reliant on a grant, because then I'm just spinning my wheels looking for grants all the time and not able to like be involved in the care piece. And I'm not organized enough to do that. So yeah, we do bill and collect. We're a clinic. We, but also have this subsidy. We had some ARPA funding that was...
I don't know what ARPA is. Can you help?
It was the program during COVID that applied and launched to help shore up programs that were threatened. So we had some extra funding for that, through that, which we used to really launch CALM, Clear Answers to Louisiana Mental Health. Not launch it, but sort of like revamp it and scale it. And so we did just lose a big chunk of that funding.
But you're looking sage because you initially started with intending to have multiple funding sources. So that's looking very wise in the current environment. I want to commend you.
Right. Well, I'm trying to be realistic.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll find whatever pots of money. When we started CALM, it was through like a GoFundMe. Like I had a no-show and I was like, I want to have a program like my mentor has, because at Yale they had a program called Mind Map, which is a psychosis early detection campaign. Yeah. And so, I mean, I remember exactly where I was sitting. I was like, that is so cool. And I just like did a GoFundMe with a really silly, terribly made video.
Yeah, but it worked. I mean,
so we got a little bit.
I'm impressed.
And we just kind of grassroots.
Yeah. So where do you want to go? Where do you see these programs going, and what are your goals?
We're studying the impact of CALM, the like public community facing part of early intervention. And what we do with CALM is psychosis awareness, trying to reduce stigma, but trying to educate the community about psychosis risk factors and about experience it, like trying to speak to people that are not yet help seeking to be like, is this happening to you? If it is, you need to come.
Could you name those out right here, the risk factors?
Yes, family history, like with 10 exclamation points. And, family psychiatric history, I should say that, if you say, hey, does anyone in your family have any mental illness? There's a lot of like ways to describe that are not exactly what we're looking for. And like, oh, such and such is crazy. Oh, such and such is bipolar. And I'm like, well, what do you mean by that?
Right.
They get mad easy. I'm like, okay, well, that's not bipolar. But like to try to really understand if they have family history of those illnesses, because your risk is, fourfold in some instances. And, so family history, we had a big billboard that had this tree and it said family history of psychosis, ? The risks are real. Yeah. And then we had another billboard that said paranoid when high, ? Psychosis risk is real. And weed. Yeah,
marijuana, people get paranoid, have panic, all that. I've seen that in my practice also.
It's, I've even had patients use CBD and come unglued.
Wow, I've not seen that one. Okay.
And then, stress. I mean, so stress in general is a risk for psychosis, not alone, but
like hurricanes. I mean, natural disasters.
Yeah.
We saw that after Katrina.
right.
That people that were probably just, fragile, really had, decompensations.
Yeah,
but
for
that's a
sure.
huge stressor, something
Right.
like that.
And
so
so
what
there's-
other stressors do you mean other than the natural disaster?
Big life changes. I mean, traumas in
Yeah.
general, when you think of more, violence, medical stressors. And, there's a big risk, or the biggest time period that, people develop psychotic disorders is adolescence and young adulthood.
Yeah.
And I think like educating the community that is the area, that's the time of life when this is happening. Most people will, if they think about schizophrenia in their mind, they're like, picturing maybe someone talking to themselves that's homeless. And that's the result of
That's the
years,
end stage
right?
of the illness.
And the possible result
Right.
that shouldn't happen.
Exactly.
And but it's not. It's young people, and
Yeah.
so we're doing all of that, and then monitoring our referrals and seeing if they've had exposure to the campaign. And looking at outcomes. So we just published in Psychiatric Services on the impact of the Calm campaign here, and in our referrals to our clinic, the duration of untreated psychosis was cut in half, like pre-campaign and after. So that's what our goal is, and so we've launched a quiz on our website, a quiz for friends, family, allies, if they have questions about someone else, a quiz for individuals. We've had over 1,000 people take the quiz, but the sad part is that we haven't had a lot of people reach out afterwards, like to take the next step to want to discuss your results. And when we looked at the quiz results, like about a third of them screened strongly positive for psychosis, which is concerning. That out of like 800 people that took the quiz, like 10 people reached out. So now we've added like a video where my partner Serena's like, hi, just want to chat about your result. I try to make it like a warm handoff.
Yeah.
And then if you're not going to take the next step, to let us know why. Like, is it because of stigma? Is it because of fear of, or like, loss of privacy, to try to understand so that we can then continue to adapt the campaign to try to influence individual help seeking. Well, that's the goal.
I've looked at the site. I saw the quizzes. To me, they're beautifully written. I mean, this age group that you're trying to target, they're going to be online before they even talk to anybody. They'll look it all up.
Oh, yeah, part of my psych eval question is like, what do you Google search?
What haven't we discussed today that you think would be valuable, that you would like to share?
Okay, so I don't need to be long-winded. I think with like, there's so much discussion about mental health, which is great, and it's increased so much with teenagers, with young adults, but having people open their mind that it might not just be depression, or it might not just be anxiety. It might be anxiety because your mind is playing tricks on you. So like, it might be you're sad because you feel paranoid that someone's out to get you. Like that doesn't make people feel happy. So like, kind of taking it a step further to understand and to be okay with asking about some of the more unusual experiences, because those aren't things that people talk to each other about. I've had so many kids, and so they'll hear something and they'll look to see where it's coming from, and there's nothing there. And then they look at all their friends that also didn't look and hear it. So it very clearly is like evident that like, okay, I'm the only one.
Yeah.
So why would I ask you, hey, did you hear that, when I just noticed that you didn't hear it? So, and that's like very isolating and hard thing to experience. So I think just when we know that this is the age group that it happens, like instead of stopping on the mental health inquiry, just about mood, just about anxiety, but like including questions about psychosis and early psychosis. Like things don't become acute right away. Like there's a whole period of time that people are going through it and trying to make sense of things that are unusual. And that's like a perfect question. Like, do you ever have experiences that you have a hard time making sense of? Are there things happening that you find it hard to talk about, like, to try to get people to open up? I'll give the, like, you know how we all have deja vu? You know, that feeling of like, this is weird, this happened before, but it's not, like that kind of feeling. Like, are you feeling like you're having that feeling a lot? Because that's very, that distinct, I'm not sure if this is real or not feeling. Like it's something that people can relate to. So I think being aware, being willing to listen, and getting them to the right place, like they need to be with people that specialize in psychosis. And the faster, the better. Like if you are concerned, like your concern, it shouldn't be like, I'll see you in 6 months, because that's just brain time, right? That we're losing.
It's not good for the brain.
And so I think just as sharing the information, if you're a mental health professional or healthcare professional watching this, like keeping it on your radar medically, but also sharing it with other people, with other educators, supporting our initiatives. In the fall, we have an annual psychosis awareness benefit called In My Mind. We have a lot of patients that are there sharing their lived experience through art, through music. And that's been really well received and enjoyed by the community. To also see people that are in recovery and doing well can be really powerful.
It's healing because it sets a model. And I mean, to me, you're pioneering something very important, and I commend you. You're pioneering like the clinic in this region to help and collecting this important data, and now it's so much easier to coordinating. And I mean, this is deeply valuable and healing, and not just for the individuals, but everybody around the individuals that are affected. So thank you.
We're trying to go on tour, or we're trying to
get on tour. I love
trying to get a mobile service to where we have our own mobile clinic, and we could go anywhere in the state.
So neat.
So I think like clinically, it's like we have to bring care to people. I think we have a big expectation on patients about what they should be doing, and this is a really tough time, and it would be lovely for us to be able to go to them, especially when they don't have as much access. So that's on the horizon.
That's huge.
That we have a mobile program. And then one last thing I think is that if you have a friend, family member, or someone with a loved one with schizophrenia, with bipolar, don't like just leave them, or like don't ask questions, or don't like be there to support them. You know, there's one of our patients that died by suicide. His father, Trip Friedler, wrote a book called The Tunnel, and that was one of my big takeaways was that. And one of the things he said is like you have a kid with another medical illness, and people are bringing you casseroles. You have a kid with bipolar disorder, and everyone disappears, and like that's tragic.
Yeah, I had a similar experience. I wish people would have brought casseroles. So it's very difficult. You know, unfortunately, there's still stigma, but I do see stigma moving. I think there's the beginning of the wave in society to move the stigma, and all of us need to contribute our voices to move that stigma, to decrease the suffering. That helps decrease suffering if we open our hearts in love to what people are experiencing and trying to assist them and give them their care.
Yeah, our newest kind of rant, our campaign, we just had this video done called Choose Your Delusion, with the delusion being that people don't get well, or people can't get well, people will never get well, versus that people can recover and people can get better. And so it's on our website right now. So,
I'm going to check that out.
Yeah.
It sounds like the name to a rock song, Choose Your Delusion. Quite creative.
We just want to be provocative enough not to get in trouble. So,
Yes. Well, thank you deeply for coming today. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
And
thank
I
you for
appreciate
having me.
the connection we
I
made.
know. I'll definitely see you again.
Yes.